All right. David Jameson, welcome to Hell Effing Yeah Live.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
I was just checking my I'm fairly new, like I've been doing the podcast for a while, but I'm fairly new to this live thing. This is like my third episode doing this live. And I just started like a Twitter and all that stuff. So while the theme song was playing, I was checking to see if we were live on Twitter because it didn't go live last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not. But
no.
for everyone listening or watching, we're on Facebook, Twitch, supposed to be Twitter, YouTube, and pprnradio.net. So we're all over the place right now.
Great.
Yeah, Twitter. I don't get Twitter, man. I always hated it, and I signed up for it against my will.
Yeah.
And I still hate it.
I feel the same way about it.
Yeah, I don't even understand what it really is.
Yeah, exactly.
You just say like a sentence, very strange. So where are you now?
Right now I'm in New York City.
Oh, no shit. I'm on Long Island.
Oh, nice. We're real close.
Real cool. We could have done this in person.
Exactly.
What are you doing in New York City?
My girlfriend lives out here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm out here visiting.
So where are you living now, though?
Most of the time I'm in Indiana.
Okay.
It's where I grew up, and since the pandemic, I've been living there. My whole family's there, so it's great. Can sing with my little nieces and nephews.
Absolutely, very nice. So how's the weather in Indiana? Is it better than New York?
It's about the same. Lots of snow.
Okay.
And quite cold, but today is nice.
Yeah, sometimes today is nice. Sometimes because I'm in a garage here doing this, and it can be pretty cold in here. So sometimes I'm talking to people in like Los Angeles or like down south or something, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's like 85 degrees here," and I'm like, "Bastard!"
And you're freezing inside.
freezing. I mean, I got the heater on, but so for those who don't know David is an American country artist and a washed-up Chinese celebrity. His new album, Tall Dark Pines, is available now wherever you stream your music, and you can buy the physical copies at davidjamesonmusic.com. You got some pretty cool stuff on there too. It's not just like CDs and shirts. You got the CD packaged up all pretty, right? That's literally what it's called. It's in like a burlap sack with like the little rope. Really, really cool looking.
I was even surprised the number of people that wanted it when I posted it online. So I just made it an official thing.
For another $10, I mean, not only is it something cool to have, but it makes a great gift,
Yeah, exactly.
You can get handwritten song lyrics, which that's always really cool. And you can even buy the band of beer or lots of them.
My favorite.
That's the best one.
Right. I want to do a candle that just smells like a campfire and a pine tree to match the album vibe.
That's a great idea. Like, what was that? Like Smell-O-Vision, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Go to the movies and
exactly. Yeah, you just turn that on. It feels like you're living in the woods and doing things outside the law.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually going to start this off with a quote of yours. Whether I die rich or poor, I just want to have a good story when I'm done. So, I mean, you're still a young guy, and you've already built quite the story. So before we get into all that, let's go back, like way back. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, the home of Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish.
That's right. Did we stay in South? We took a road trip to Colorado. I think we actually stayed in South Bend.
Yeah,
for a night,
I-80.
for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Those are the perfect spots. 12 hours from here and like 17 hours from Colorado. So
yeah, that's exactly what we planned out. We were like, all right, that's not too bad. Kind of breaks it up. Although I don't know, man, that was a long drive.
It is.
The whole thing was a really long drive. On the way back, we kind of went straight. Like,
oh wow,
that was my wife's idea. She was like, I just want to get home,
Right.
And so did I. But so I slept in the car and she drove and I drove a little, she slept. Man, I think it took us like a day and a half, you know?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Like, I think we left 10 o'clock from Colorado on a Friday and got home on like a Saturday evening, 6 o'clock or something. But, you know,
Yeah.
saved a lot of money and time.
Mm-hmm. I did that when I first moved down to Texas, like over a decade ago. I went down with my dad, and we it was like, I think it was like 18-hour drive or something from Indiana. And so we thought, well, we can just push on through. And so we got there at like 5 or 6 a.m. and we saved a lot of time, saved some money, but it took me at least a week to recover. It was my like first internship in college, and I would like have to take naps at my desk the first couple days. And one of the other interns came around and was like, you can't be doing that. People are asking questions.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very true. It's, it makes you really appreciate planes
Yeah, for sure.
when you take those long trips. One thing I found kind of disturbing was the lack of places to eat.
Yeah.
On the way. Like you would think there's like a million places, but they're all closed or you got to wait till like 7 o'clock in the morning for them to open up. And we were on the road.
Exactly.
We were on the road on the way there at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And it hits like 4 o'clock and we're like, all right, where's the next Cracker Barrel? Oh, it opens at 7. All right, cool. But now we're dealing with time zones. So we're going backwards in time.
Yeah.
So 4 o'clock turned back into 2 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I love going down south, because the Waffle House is always open.
Yes, we couldn't find it. There was no Waffle Houses on I-80.
Yeah, nothing in the Midwest.
No, we definitely would have been stopping there. So did you grow up in a musical household?
Yeah, pretty musical. My dad grew up playing music, and he actually wanted to do it in college, but ultimately decided, he'd have to pay tuition, and you're not going to pay that back if you're studying music. So he decided to not do it. But he played piano. Like, he can hear a song, even my Chinese songs. He'll just listen once and then he'll just play it on the keys. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Right. So what was the first record that you heard that made you want to be a musician?
Oh, it made me want to be a musician. I mean, the first one I ever remember listening to was like cruising around with my dad, listening to like AC/DC.
Nice.
And Led Zeppelin.
Yep.
Like their greatest hits albums. But when I got, I think, to high school, it was the height of the emo music scene.
Yes.
And so I was really into that, because there was like a special scene in the Midwest for emo music.
Yep.
And so we'd have bands touring around the Midwest, and so being able to see them was pretty cool. And so I wanted to play that kind of music at first. So there's a band, The Spill Canvas. I can still remember trying to learn their songs, which are too advanced for a beginner guitar. And I could never sing in their range, even now after lots of practice.
Right.
So I tried my best, but it was a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, we all had that emo phase. I definitely had it. And even to this day, I'll still go back to it, listen to it, because it's nostalgic, number one.
Right.
And some of it was really good. Some of it, like the originators of it stuck around. They stood the test of time. There was like with any other scene, with like the grunge scene, you got Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Soundgarden, and then like everyone else you followed. Some of them were good, but no one will ever be better than the originals.
Right, exactly.
So when you go back, like, I'm from Long Island, so like Taking Back Sunday, they're from here.
Oh yeah.
That was one of those bands that not only was like representing my place, but they were like kind of one of the originators of the scene. And I used to go to like every Warped Tour and all those things.
Nice.
It was a good time. It was a good time for music. And people make fun of it. It's like whiny and sad and all that. But listen, there's a place for everything. There's a scene for everything as well.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of ways it's similar to kind of the alternative country music scene now, in that they actually tried to do real lyrics. Of course, there's a lot of weird stuff they added in, like about vampires and blood, and like you had to do that to be a part of the scene. But it was good lyrics. They'd tell stories, and even the most poppy bands like Panic at the Disco. Like, I remember some of their lyrics were like, "Wow, that was good." But if you listen to pop music today, unless it's rap, there's not really a whole lot of insight.
Right.
or kind of story based stuff.
That's true. That's true. Well, you know what? I mean, I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but your album, Tall Dark Pines, is really based on storytelling. What was the inspiration behind the album?
Well, I think the bulk of the inspiration musically comes from very traditional music, and I kind of dove into that slowly, starting from the most recent stuff, like more like bluegrass in
Hmm.
its heyday, or even the Grateful Dead, and looking at where do those songs come from,
Hmm.
and reading into all the lyrics, and then tracing it back to the original music that was made in the United States, right when we were first able to record, and before that. And so as I dug into that, that really inspired the way I wrote the lyrics and also created the sound.
Hmm.
But then the stories themselves were told in a more modern way using older words. And those stories come from more recent events. Some of them are based on things that happened in my hometown, like the title track, Tall Dark Pines,
Hmm.
was based on an actual murder that happened in my hometown when I was writing the album early in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other stories are from my family or from my neighbors, friends, or my own life.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. See that, and that's why I like it so much, because I love dark stuff. I love,
Hmm.
this is out of context. This sounds weird, but I love murder.
Yeah.
Like I watch all those documentaries, and I'm really into that kind of stuff, and I
Right.
just like the darker side of things. And
Uh-huh.
you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm not the world's biggest country fan, right? I mean, so let me explain. It's not my fault. Okay,
Yeah.
I grew up in New
I
York,
don't blame you.
in the suburbs,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't really exposed to it. And if I was, I mean, like besides Johnny Cash and things like that, um,
Yeah.
if I was, it was just the pop radio kind of stuff, and I was just like, and I'm very open minded when it comes to music. I listen to almost everything, and country's always been one of those genres that I just kind of pushed to the side and never really gave too much attention to it.
Hmm.
Um, However, during my exploration, as I got older, I came across something called outlaw country.
Yeah.
Right now, I didn't know there was a title for it. Like, I mean, Johnny Cash is kind of considered outlaw country.
Hmm.
Did you ever hear of it? Have you heard of outlaw
Oh
country?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. But
Now,
I came across it late as well.
I came across it late. I stumbled upon like Hank 3
Hmm.
and Waylon and David Allen Coe and people like that. And I know like some of those artists are a bit problematic, with like some
Hmm.
lyrics and things like that. But you know what? I mean, it's legit. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's coming from a real place. And I think that's the coolest thing about music is that if it's real,
Hmm.
it's um it's coming from a place that um is authentic
Yeah.
to where they're from,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So that's what's cool about it. A lot of the pop country stuff, it seems just produced to me. It seems
Right.
manufactured,
Exactly. It's just kind of a
you
generic
know?
thing.
Right.
We used to joke, it's like have 50 words for like a truck or a
A
beer.
dirt road.
Yeah. And you just
Yeah.
like randomly pick.
Yeah. Yeah, and they all sound the same,
Hmm.
and not to say that there's not good artists out there that are top 40, but it's just not my thing. But then when I
Yeah.
hear something like you, I'm like, oh, this is why I am attracted to this kind of country music, because it's legit. You can just tell it's real.
Hmm.
You know, like one of the
Yeah.
big guys out there that I really like is Chris Stapleton.
Oh yeah. He's great.
He's legit, but
Uh-huh.
he's top 40, but he's legit.
Yeah.
Um, so you know, even though you're like, uh, do you consider yourself outlaw country?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you
I mean,
label it like that?
I
Yeah,
always struggle to categorize it, but that's definitely a big source of inspiration.
right,
But like you, I didn't know that was a thing until much later. Um,
right,
when I was reading up on Chris Christopherson, and I was like, I didn't know who he was.
yeah,
And then I started talking to my uncles and my grandfather, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's our favorite." And I just had no idea, and because I grew up with a little bit of pop country, like, and then Johnny Cash, Alabama in the early '90s. But other than that, really no country at all. I kind of discovered
wow.
that slowly over time on my own.
So that's interesting. So how did you like go into your room one day, pick up the guitar, and like start playing country?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a slow thing, and
Yeah.
I didn't really know it was called country. But I always followed the lyrics. Like the music
Right.
I always liked had lyrics. Whether it's like Led Zeppelin and I couldn't understand what he was saying and had to look it up.
Right.
And was like, oh, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I've read that. Or like emo music, or later I got into rap and folk. And that's kind
Yeah.
of where it started with the folk. Once I got into folk, I was like, oh, I like folk, Iron and Wine. I like the lyrics and the vibe. And so I started writing songs that were much more historically based, with kind of pulling in the old language, old style. And I wrote that way for a long time, maybe a decade before I ever thought about putting this album together. And as I got closer to making the album, even though I didn't know it yet, I moved to Texas and I discovered like some of the Texas country scene, in particular Turnpike Troubadours. And from there, I just kind of realized like, oh, maybe country music is actually what I like. I just don't
Yeah.
like the pop country.
Right.
And so I just kept digging into the country music roots. And then I realized the Grateful Dead, who I loved as a kid, they played a lot of outlaw country.
Right.
Like almost all the songs I know in outlaw country from being a kid were covered by the Grateful Dead. That's how I knew them.
That's interesting. I didn't even really know that. Grateful Dead's one of those bands that I just never latched onto, like
Yeah.
they're massive, and I know their hits, whatever couple hits they have, but I never like dug deep into them. So
Yeah,
maybe I'm just not in the phase yet. Maybe I hit phases for everything.
Exactly.
Sometimes I'm in like a death metal phase, and it's crazy. My wife's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm just like, I like to explore it.
Right. Exactly.
And music's based on your mood, really. I always thought that.
For sure. My listening habits change a lot depending on my mood.
Yeah. And like rap is a perfect example of something that I'll listen to constantly, and then I won't listen to it for like a year.
Yeah.
It depends who's out, or like a lot of the rap music that comes out today, I'm not crazy about it. But there are good things in there. You got to find them.
Yeah.
Who's some of your favorite rap artists?
Well, I don't
Old or
listen to
new,
a whole lot of newer rap artists, but Drake, when he first came out, I really liked his lyrics.
Yeah.
And then I read some like in-depth piece on his story, and I was like, wow, this guy's really cool.
Yeah.
And so I went on a Young Money kick for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then more recently, maybe The Weeknd.
Yeah.
But yeah, these days I haven't really listened to rap in like 3 or 4 years, I think.
Right. Yeah. I know that's like where I'm at. I'm maybe not 3 or 4 years, but I'm in like a rap drought,
Yeah.
When all else fails, I always go back to like Kanye and things like that. Like he's definitely one of my favorites, I know he's like, he's nuts, but
yeah, he's got some issues now.
He's just a musical genius, really.
Right.
So we have to go back to this now. I said this at the beginning. I said washed up Chinese celebrity, and I'm quoting that from you. You put that on your social media pages there. So you're in your early 20s at this point, right? Right. And can you tell us the story of how you went from competing on Chinese Idol, like an American Idol, to a corporate consultant, back to the life you're living now?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of weird. I guess it was more the Chinese Idol, and the music I'm doing now is more of an anomaly rather than the other way around. So it started, in high school, I really got into Spanish because of bachata music. I love bachata music. There's a band called Aventura and another one called Maná. And Maná is rock music from Mexico. And I just loved their lyrics and the sound. And so I just listened to so many of their albums on repeat that I just like really got into learning the language. And then when I finished high school, I was like, I really like learning languages. And, whether it's English or Spanish, I like the wordplay.
Right.
And so I thought, well, I want to learn another one. When I go to college, I want to learn something that's hard. So I picked Chinese. And so I studied engineering and Chinese. And then after like 3 years, I was like, I couldn't even say my own name in Chinese. I was so bad. So I was like, I have to go over there if I'm going to actually become fluent.
Right.
Or even like kind of passable.
Yeah.
So I went over there. I dropped out of school for a year. I went over there and studied full time for like 4 months. And when I got to the point where I could kind of, do whatever I wanted to, I could talk pretty easily. I got a job in the embassy as an intern. And then at night I would go play in the bars.
Okay.
And so every night, 3 or 4 hours a night, I'd be singing in a mix of Chinese and English music. And that created all kinds of opportunities because I'm just hanging out there with all the people, like random people from all over Beijing. And one day my neighbor, who I had taught to play guitar, and he had taught me how to cook this street food stuff, he dragged me along to a tryout for their version of American Idol. And didn't hear back for a long time, but finally I was back in the US, and I get a frantic call from my friend. He's like, "You need to be here tomorrow." I was like, "I don't think you know how this works." It's 12 hours just for me to fly if I had a flight right now.
Right.
So I missed his filming when he first went on. We were supposed to go together, but he had to go alone. And so I was called back later, and that just kind of kicked off a whole string of first that TV show, then another and another, and all kinds of different things.
That's crazy. So, I mean, first of all, can you speak Chinese now?
Yeah, I can. I mean, it's been a year since I spoke it, but I can speak pretty fluently.
Wow. I mean, that's like, to me, that seems like one of the hardest languages to learn. I mean,
yeah,
you have to relearn everything almost from scratch.
Yeah. There's only 2 words that are the same, and they're not even exactly. One is mama, like, mama, and the other one is baba, which is like papa.
Wow.
That's it.
That's
like even
crazy.
Brand names are different. Like McDonald's is Mai Dang Lao.
Wow.
Yeah, there's nothing's the same.
That's insane. So I gotta know how. All right, do they like country music over there? Is it a big thing over there?
Yes. It's kind of strange. Like most of the music there is like this love ballad about heartache, and it's the same kind of thing every single song. Like that's pop. But a lot of it's very folk inspired and guitar led. And there's, at least when I was there was a big subcurrent of folk music that was more or less the same as country. Right. And, even the way they speak about it. One of my favorite artists there's a lot of like horse imagery, even though he's a city guy living in Beijing. But at the same time, it's very real. He's talking about where he lives in Beijing and all the places he visits, and the horse imagery is more of like a metaphor for not being able to date this girl who's more like a wild horse because he doesn't have a big garden. And it sounds kind of weird in English when I say it out loud, but
yeah, no, that's the thing about sometimes you watch TV shows or things on Netflix and they're in a different language and you can tell things are just lost in translation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe it's not 100% what it means, but it means something,
Yeah, exactly.
So how far did you get in the competition?
Well, a lot of different competitions. Some of them I was eliminated immediately. Some of them I did really well. One of them I got second, so I was pretty excited about that.
Wow.
I got this gold necklace in a big red case. That was amazing.
So are you like the David Hasselhoff of like China?
More like I don't know if you remember this guy. Remember there's a guy on American Idol, like it must have been like a decade and a half ago.
I did watch it back in the day.
Like where he couldn't really speak English.
Yeah. Like was he like purposely bad?
Yeah, he was like really bad, like William Hung or something.
Yes.
Yeah, like I wasn't that bad, but I was more. I think more kind of like wow, that's crazy kind of gimmick than like. Okay. This is the best singer in China. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's a certain place where like one, I could speak Chinese really well, so people are really impressed because like the average person can understand exactly what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And then they're also like, I'm good enough where like they liked listening. And so it's kind of this like shock value of like, wow, he can sing in Chinese. And so they'd always like, poke fun at me speaking English, speaking Chinese, try to get me to say hard things in Chinese.
Do you have
but the problem is like trying to be a celebrity there, and there's a guy named David from Canada who's done it. He's older, maybe in his 50s now, and he's made a name for himself doing it. But in general, just like we have difficulty telling people apart that we don't often see, like for example Chinese people, when I went over there I couldn't really tell them apart if they were from the same region of China. It's like so difficult because the style is so different, the way they style their hair, their clothes, everything. And from a region you look similar. It's like it's quite difficult when you haven't seen that many people from there,
right?
And so they also can't tell me apart from the next white guy from America,
right?
So yes, it takes a lot more recognition and exposure to get for them to remember who you are.
Right. Yeah, it's that whole like everybody looks the same thing, but they don't.
Right? Exactly.
They just don't. It's just it's strange. But when we think of Americans, we think we all look different, but to other people, we just don't.
Exactly.
What's a couple curse words in Chinese?
So that's funny. I feel like every language, that's the first thing you learn.
Yeah.
So there's one that's like basically like fuck your mom.
Right. I'm writing this down, by the way.
Yeah, and it's pronounced Cao Ni Ma.
Cao Ni Ma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cao Ni Ma. But it's funny because like there is like somewhat of a what's the word, like censorship on what you can say on the internet. Yes. So you can't actually type that on most websites publicly. So you would have to change it to different characters, which actually mean like grass, mud, horse.
Wow.
So when you read it, it's like it says Cao Ni Ma, but like the characters actually mean something different, but everyone knows what you're trying to say.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. That's even another level to learn. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Can you say hell fucking yeah in Chinese?
I think it'd be like 牛逼, which is like literally translates to cow vagina. Wow. But like I think like B is vagina and Nyo can be a cow, or sometimes people refer to like women like that.
Right. I'm gonna change the name of this podcast.
Chicks,
yeah,
but not mean chickens.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm gonna change the name of this podcast to Cow Vagina.
Yeah, exactly.
And
first time that's been said here.
People will know exactly what it means.
Yeah.
So, hold on one second here. So, what made you leave the corporate world? Now, once you got out of college, you went on and took a job, right?
Yeah. So I did the Chinese thing, and it was a lot of fun, but I didn't really see a future in it. I didn't want to live in China my whole life. I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't really see myself building a career or, dying there in my late 60s. I wanted to be close to my family and my friends, and be able to get like really good beer. Gotta have my IPA.
That's right.
So I came back to the US and put my engineering degree to worked at GE for a while. Then I wanted to leave the US again, so I applied to a company called McKinsey and went around the world with them. Lived in Southeast Asia, Latin America, Europe, all these places. Wow. Left for a bit to do a master's in China again, funded by this guy from New York City named Steven Schwartzman. Mm-hmm. In his program, he pays you to go. It's pretty amazing. Called Schwartzman Scholars. And then went back to McKinsey, and it was interesting, but without all the excitement of traveling around the world and seeing different cultures and learning new languages. It's I thought about it for a while. I was like, I don't want to hit my midlife crisis doing this. This isn't this isn't the story I'm looking for, to like get a corporate job and die.
Right.
After 50 years.
Yeah.
So I started writing music just because it was an important outlet for me. And in the pandemic, I had more time. And once I kind of, got along with it and got closer, figured it out, I was like, you know what, I don't have to do this job. I need the
Right.
time to really focus on the music if I'm going to make a go of it.
Right. Yeah. That's one thing I always say on this show is like a lot of people that I have on here, they've all kind of been created from the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had like some established people on here that have been around for a long time, but most of the up and comers are just like brand new, and they just realized, being locked in their homes listen to me, 2 years ago, which is terrifying, but that was like 2 years
Yeah.
ago. What they really wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and it gave a lot of people the outlet to do that. I mean, of course, there's not a silver lining for everybody, but
Yeah.
I feel like with a lot of artists and things like that, it was really a time to hone in on something that has been on the back burner for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I
Yeah.
mean, it's crazy that it's even like it's a new normal, I
Yeah.
hate using that term, but it's just every day. It's
Yep.
masks and vaccines, and I rarely talk about that stuff on here. But you can't help it sometimes. It's like in your
Right.
face every single day, right? I just want
Yeah.
it to go away one day.
For sure.
Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky. I was able to, when I quit my job, I had worked for like a decade, no kids, no
Yeah,
wife, nothing, no one to support. And my parents, still had an open basement.
right.
So I moved back in with them at 30, and they were like, for some reason, welcoming. And it was amazing. Get to stay with them and spend time with
Yeah,
my sister and her family and my parents. And it was super cool. But at the same time, being a musician, the way you make money is by performing.
right.
So it's been a weird kind of struggle because like my parents are older, my sister's kids are young, and I could put them at risk if I perform. And so it's kind of
Right.
been this weird pull in both directions. So if I want to
Yeah.
go perform, and I do occasionally, but I also have to be really careful if I'm gonna live with them.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. It's like ever since this started, this came from the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since, my wife works, and she was able to work from home for a very long time. And that's why I was able to do this. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to do it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we barely go anywhere.
Yeah.
we're like, we used to travel. We used
Yeah.
to, we used to do a lot. Every year we'd go somewhere. And now it's like, I don't even want to. I don't even want to go to the grocery store,
Right.
Not out of fear or anything like that. Just like, I don't know. I got a taste of what it was like to just exist,
Mm-hmm.
and do kind of what I want to do. And I don't want to give it up.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to go anywhere. And, I see my family and things like that. But for the most part, I'm not in much contact with people. So while I do not want to give anybody anything, obviously, my family, I just I like being able to just get food delivered to the house.
Yeah.
Or come out to the garage and do this show, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want it to go back, even though I want the pandemic to go away. I feel like the world needed to reset. Am I making any sense of what I'm saying here? I don't know.
For sure.
But the world did kind of reset in a way. And for the best, I just try to find the silver lining in it, try to find the positive things out of it,
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not much.
Yeah, it's
you
true.
know? Yeah. All right. So Tall Dark Pines is out now.
Uh-huh.
I've been listening to it all morning. Usually when I get ready for these things, I like to immerse myself in it. A couple of tracks that I really love. I mean, I love the whole thing, but 25 to Life, Tall Dark Pines, and I really love Ball and the Jack.
Oh, nice.
Which is kind of a change from the album,
Yeah, for sure.
The album's like very it's dark, but it still has like a fun side to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that it really shows on that track. So speaking of shows, you have an upcoming show February 26th. Is that still on?
Yeah, I just announced that. and that'll be in my hometown at a whiskey factory in South Bend called
Yes.
Indiana Whiskey.
Right now, that's unplugged,
Mm-hmm.
so full acoustic, and you can get the tickets at your website, davidjameson.com.
Yep.
And I know it's hard to like we were just talking about it, but I know it's hard to plan tours during, the apocalypse. But
Right.
is there anything in the horizon, like next year or something like that? Any festivals?
Well,
or
I'll probably
tours
do
going
some
on?
more later this spring, starting around April through the summer.
Right.
And I've got another show March 10th in Logansport,
Nice.
the Logansport, Indiana. I feel like Texas or Kentucky, they've got these big Americana country scenes, and Indiana and the Midwest doesn't really have it as much, but a lot of people are starting to get into it and starting to promote it. And so I'm also trying to do my part and go support the people who are also supporting the scene. So
Right.
whenever I can, I get out around the Midwest.
Right. Very nice. You ever come to the East Coast?
Oh yeah.
I mean, besides right now.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done a
touring.
single show out here, but
Okay.
I definitely like to, especially starts to get warmer here. I think I'll be spending a lot more time.
Definitely.
I'll be
well,
back
let
out
me
here
know.
in May. Hopefully I can find a venue to do a show while I'm here.
Very cool. Yeah, come to the island. There's so many venues out here, and you're right where you are now. You're about an hour away, so
Nice.
not too much further. And let me know when you're out here. I would love to check it out. I'd love to see it
for
live.
sure. I will.
So, couple fun questions to wrap this up. I say they're fun, but they're actually kind of hard. You can only listen to one record for the rest of your life. What is it?
Oh man, that's
I know
really
that's
tough.
hard. I know.
I feel like I do Working Man's Dead by the Grateful Dead.
Nice.
I like so many tracks on there, and a lot of those are the ones that kind of introduced me to the style of country.
Right.
That I like now, and the studio recordings, strangely, are my favorite Dead songs. So I could deal with that one for a long time.
Right. Okay. You can only watch one movie the rest of your life. What is it?
I'd watch Casablanca.
Okay.
I've watched
Good
it a
answer.
couple times. I love the music from it.
Right.
Like I love that old kind of jazz style, and just like the whole idea of the expat scene there, and something I identify with. So
absolutely. Pet peeve.
Oh,
I mean, I have
feel like my
so
girlfriend would be able to tell you better.
Yeah.
Maybe what?
No, go ahead.
Like orange and chocolate. Like I can't stand it. Like even the smell. It ruins the chocolate for me.
You mean like chocolate covered oranges, like stuff like that?
Yeah, chocolate covered oranges, or just orange flavored chocolate at all.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. I mean, it's not a pet peeve of mine, but it's gross.
Yeah.
We don't need to cover chocolate. We don't need to cover oranges with chocolate. However, chocolate covered pineapples are amazing.
Oh, I would try it once. I'll try anything once, but I don't know about that. That seems there's no fruit I've liked so far. So
I'm telling you, you don't like chocolate covered strawberries?
They're okay, but I'd rather have them separate.
Well, based on that gauge, I don't know. You may not like it. But edible arrangements, yeah, I'm sure you've seen those.
Oh yeah.
They make these chocolate covered pineapples.
Uh-huh.
They're insane. I would never think it personally that it would be good.
Yeah.
But they're good. I eat I'll eat all of them. Yeah, they're good. Current guilty pleasure song, like something you shouldn't like, but you do. Something on the radio, like
that's a really tough one. I feel like I don't really listen to any songs that I shouldn't be listening to.
Right.
One of my favorite songs of all time, I have to admit, is one of Taylor Swift's earliest songs.
Okay.
I'm not even sure I could tell you. I think it's Love Story.
Okay.
like I think like the way she works in the lyrics to that song in particular, it's just amazing. Like she brings in all these things that everyone has to read in high school, like Scarlet Letter, Romeo and Juliet, all these like very basic references that are still meaningful and interesting, and weaves it into a story that everyone can understand and enjoy the depth,
Right.
which I think is very cool.
Yeah. No, definitely. You know, she's just one of those artists that just kind of transcends time, you know, like when she first came out, I don't even know how long ago that was. 20 years ago or something.
Yeah, at least.
I don't even know. And it was one of those things that I was like, oh, this will be cute for a minute and then it'll go away.
Right.
And I mean, she's still putting out records, and she's, you know, I personally like wouldn't go out of my way to listen to it, but it's definitely great music. You know what I mean? She's a great writer.
Yeah.
And she experiments, you know, she just doesn't stick with the same thing. Each album sounds a little different or has a new element to it. You got to respect that. You got to love that. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. One of my idols, growing up, Humphreys McGee. I don't know if you listen to any jam music, but they were really big in the scene.
Dude, I had Ryan Stasek on the show, the bassist.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. I talk to him every now and then.
He's cool.
I'm gonna try to get him back on. I love Humphreys McGee.
Yeah, they're great. They're formed in South Bend.
Yeah.
And you know, I grew up going to see them like through high school and later. Like they were doing big shows around the country, but they still do a show often for free in South Bend.
Right.
And so I used to see them in local park and then the big local theater, and you could actually see them play the instruments. And I thought that was so cool. And Jake Sinninger, one of the lead guitarists, ended up playing on my first track I ever recorded for like the city of South Bend, called South Bend Town, which is not available very many places, just on Bandcamp.
Okay. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I love that band.
The only reason they have been able to be successful for so long and still enjoy it is that they are always changing the styles and experimenting with new things, whether it's pop or like playing with Billy Strings or Tyler Childers, you know.
Yep.
They're always mixing it up.
Absolutely. I love their cover album, Zonky.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites.
That is so good, man. That
the
is just like,
are insane.
Yeah.
I Can't Feel My Dream Face, I think.
Yeah. They're just all these songs that you've heard a million times, right?
Yeah.
But you never put it together that they're like the same song.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just obviously rearranged differently. But like seamlessly put together. Just amazing. Right. Absolutely amazing. I talked to him a lot about that on the episode, actually.
Yeah, they're very, very talented musicians. My teacher now, I take guitar lessons from this classical guy in town, and he used to teach Jake when he was a child.
Wow.
And it's like, I can't even compare myself. Jake was like, 8 years old playing stuff I'm not even capable of reading yet.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, they're another level. And you know what's funny is they're not mainstream, really. I mean, they're just not. Like 9 out of 10 people probably don't even know who they are.
Right.
But they're just one of those bands. Like, and I'm not a huge like jam band fan, but there's something about them that's just remarkable, man. Yeah. You know. And it's funny. I just really kind of got into them because of the interview. You know, I start like I learn from just by doing this. You know, this is like my 70th something episode of doing this, and everyone that I meet, sometimes I don't know who they are at all. You know, so I get to learn about them and their background, and from that I get like 3 new bands in my roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
of things that I listen to. So it's really like mind opening to just know that there's people out there that like the same stuff that I do. You know,
for sure,
and or like-minded, and I can get something brand new out of it. I can listen to something new that I've never heard before. Even though I've heard the name, I'm like, it's one of those things where, let's face it, music videos don't exist. MTV doesn't exist really anymore. Right. The radio plays the same shit all the time.
Yeah.
And the internet, while there's tons of great music, you really got to sift through all of it. It's like endless amount of content. Right.
endless.
Even the days of going to the record store are like, I mean, I'm glad record stores made a comeback and stuff like that. And I get to go when I can. But you know, the interaction with it has kind of disappeared, you know,
for sure.
So it's cool to come across things and get a brand new perspective on something.
For sure.
Yeah. I had another question here. Oh, all right. You're a nice guy, but I'm going to make you talk shit.
Okay.
A country artist or a band you can't stand.
Man, I mean, there's so many.
What's one that's just many. Like they come on and you're like, all right, turn this off now.
and there's like a whole thing about, I mean, I honestly haven't listened to enough of any one artist to say I don't like them at all, but just like the style of country. I mean, it's pop country, but when, like, sometimes I think they really have good lyrics. Like sometimes they're very catchy or interesting, but you know, when it's always about the same thing, but you know, that bothers me. But the thing that bothers me most is the fake accent. Like I know people who like grew up in places, and you know, I love wordplay and accents. Like that's something I get off on.
Right.
And so then I hear these people and the way they talk, and then compared to the way they sing, and it's like, no, you're just singing like every other radio country singer. That's not what people sound like where you're from.
Exactly.
It's like you don't need to put on this fake accent to sing a country song.
Right. No, I totally agree, and that's kind of what I was saying before. When things come from a real place, you know it's legit. You know, it's already manufactured and produced, and now you're just making it worse.
Right. Exactly.
You know, just be you. Just be you. But of course, there's the whole "I want to make millions of dollars" thing, and I
mean, that's
sometimes they do. You know,
sounds nice.
Sucks. It does, and then that's where I start getting pissed off as someone who really loves music. You know, someone like Florida Georgia Line.
Yeah.
All right. I personally think that it's trash.
Yeah.
Now they're millionaires and good for them. Awesome. But then there's people like you who actually have something legit and authentic, and it's tough getting it out there, you know?
Right.
So
and that's the problem of making kind of more unique or more niche music.
Yeah.
When it sounds different, it's harder for people to consume and like the first time. Like I remember I think it was like a Jason Derulo song or something, and it was a big hit like 10 years ago. I don't remember what it was. And then a month after that one came out, another artist released a song that had a kind of a riff on the same melody. And so immediately I was, oh, I like this song. Oh, wait, it's not Derulo. You know, I was like,
right.
It just like piggybacks off the last song that sounded the same. And so everyone likes it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the rare moments I listen to modern radio, like I'll listen to classic rock and stuff like that. But if I'm listening to like the local, you know, hits radio, I don't even know who anybody is. It all sounds exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right now, like female pop is huge, and I can't tell the difference between any of them. And I'm not saying it's not good. There's something there, you know. But
I'm really bad at it too. But like other people I'm with, I'm like, oh, this is that one person. I'm like, no, man, this is clearly the other one.
Right.
Like, I hardly even know the names well enough to guess.
Right. But yeah, it's refreshing to hear artists like yourself, and that's why I love doing the show so much. You know, like I said, now I got another fucking record in my bank that I'm gonna love to listen to. It's so good. And again, anybody listening out there, head on over to davidjamesonmusic.com, and you can buy the physical album, or you can download it, or whatever the hell, you know. And you can follow David on social media at David Jameson H, right? There's an H at the end. Okay. One more question. On a scale from 1 to hell fucking yeah, how would you rate your time here today?
Oh, hell fucking yeah.
Yes. Hell fucking yeah. Awesome, man. So we're going to jump off the live, and just don't go anywhere. All right.
All right.
All right. So thank
Thanks
you,
for having me.
David. Thank you, David, so much for coming on, man. And I wish the best of luck to you in your endeavors. And I hope to see you out, on a show one day.
For sure.
All right. I'm going to end this. And yeah, don't go anywhere.